Hey guys, welcome to Just Talk TV Football, and my name is Nick.
And I'm Dazlan. Welcome to Just Talk.
Welcome back, and today I got a very interesting episode lined up, and I don't think there's anywhere else to start. We got to start.
There's a lot of things that's happened this week.
Yeah, freaking a lot of things have happened, and a lot of crazy stuff has happened.
We definitely have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. And definitely today, the first thing we're going to talk about is the unfortunate and disastrous defeat that Liverpool suffered in the hands of Aston Villa 7-2. We're going to look at it and talk about it in detail today.
Yeah, that was a very hard game to watch if you're a Liverpool fan. So, judging from the jersey you're wearing,
man, I got to rep. You know me. I gotta rep, because if I don't come here and wear my Liverpool jersey on this show, I wouldn't be able to, say that I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah. I mean, okay, as a Liverpool fan, I just want to hear what you have to say about that defeat. That's a pretty, very bad defeat, huh?
I actually released a video earlier on our Facebook page, but I guess I can reiterate some things that I said on it. I felt that this particular defeat that we had was quite telling. There was, I mentioned it before, it's a work in progress. The whole season is a work in progress, but there were signs that this was coming from preseason, quite frankly. The limited preseason that was there, there was signs that something like this was in the works, and like a defeat like this was going to occur. I just didn't know exactly how soon it would be, and I definitely didn't expect Aston Villa to spank us.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's take a look at the pre-season. It was a pretty bad run of matches for Liverpool. Not only that, coming into the end of last season as well, signs was showing from their first defeat from Watford. Even before that, at the Champions League defeat against Atletico Madrid.
I think those were isolated but kind of foretelling incidents that led to after the restart, and that's where we saw a lot of defensive frailties. But I think it was all fine for me as long as we got through it and we came to this season and had a bit more of a uniformed approach to it. So, but what we found, I thought, going to the preseason was that the common trend was we let in goals early. Now, I don't know if that was because of a defensive approach, or I don't know if that was something that was just couldn't be helped because of lag or fatigue or something. But it was telling, man. It was definitely telling, and I was definitely a bit disappointed. We went down 2 goals against Salzburg. We went down 2 goals against I think was it Stuttgart or something? I forgot which team.
Yeah.
We went down
a German team.
A German team, yeah. We went down 2 goals to that team in the preseason. We went down a goal against Blackpool, which is no offense, but that's just, if that isn't ringing alarm bells in your head, then something is wrong. So there's been this defensive trend. We saw in the Arsenal games, especially the League Cup games, the Community Shield game. We saw that they were trying to expose us down the side of the Nico Williams side, and at the time everyone had a go at Nico Williams, I remember, but Nico Williams being the young Wales right back who plays in this team. But what happened after that was, now we've come into this season, and with our first team lineup and our first team back 4, we've been leaking goals. We leaked 3 goals against Leeds in the first game. We leaked a goal, I think, against Arsenal, and a goal against I think it was just Arsenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is Arsenal.
Yeah, against Chelsea, they were down to 10 men, so but I can already see that there were defensive frailties, I think.
Especially the one against Arsenal, that was a very, very avoidable, if you ask me. The one where Andy Robertson kind of screwed up his clearance and then led to the goal.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
Yeah.
It was very avoidable, and individual errors have pretty much been the tail. But this season, I'm seeing, with this season, I'm understanding how teams are addressing us offensively. They are organizing themselves offensively in a certain way that is countering our back line, and the fact that we play such a high line, you know, yeah, that's I felt a bit down about it, but then I saw it, and I really watched the Aston Villa game in detail. There was a clear direction. Maybe not for the first goal or one of the goals where it hit Virgil van Dijk. Those ones not so much. But there was a common trend, and then they all attacked the side that Trent and Gomez were on. So that was a defensive issue that I saw.
Yeah, okay. Firstly, I just want to talk about the defense as well. So the defense is actually more essentially the same team from last season. So you have a right back is Trent, and then your centre back is Van Dijk as well as Gomez. Sometimes Matip, but this game was Gomez. And on the left is Andy Robertson. Essentially the same centre back they have for the past the same defense for the past 2 years. So it all depends for you what seems to be the problem here.
I mean, first of all, I think
as you pointed out, it's the right back of Trent as well as Gomez is very exposed. So anything to counter that?
I think the number one thing you need to understand is there are two ways to counter that, and that's why Jordan Henderson is so important to this team. I think Jordan Henderson plays in that right side midfield role, and the way you counteract this usually is by having someone who can parry the ball handler, who is basically carrying the ball in that area. If you watched how Trent defended, some of his body language, he was backing off, he didn't go in for tackles. This is a very different approach than someone like Andy Robertson, who never goes in 50-50. Andy Robertson goes in 100.
Yeah, that's Scottish blood, you know.
Yeah. I'm like, it's just the attitudes are two different people. And where Andy is more of the direct type, and where Trent generally actually, I'm not saying Trent doesn't put in challenges, but you can see that there is a lack to overcommit because he doesn't want to lose the player who's in front of him. But sometimes being a defender means being brave and timing your tackling, even if it means making mistakes. And I think Trent somehow falls in that category of you know, being someone who is trying not to let players go in or past him to create chances. So I understand where Trent is coming from, but in that case there's two ways to counter it, and I think both ways there's a bit of, I think one way was Jordan Henderson. The other way would be to have a centre back behind him who's covering for him. And unfortunately, Joe Gomez this season, at the start of this season, has simply not been good. I don't know what it is. Is it a form thing? Is it a style thing? I think it's mainly down to, it's either Joe Gomez or Jordan Henderson. One of those two need to cover Trent for him to be at his maximum best. And this is why when we've had Henderson in the team, we don't lose games.
Yeah, that's true. I guess Joe Gomez kind of looked very sloppy when he doesn't have someone like Jordan Henderson in front of him, because he has to cover for Trent, let's say, but then he has to cover for himself as well.
I'll never listen to people ever again who tell me that Jordan isn't an important player to this team, because I just think that we've seen too much evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, because he comes in, make the tackle, and clear the ball, like essentially a defensive midfield. And also he controls the ball during play, so he pivots and then passes the ball. Control. He has ball control, if you ask me, in terms of the tactical mind.
I think to what you're saying, right, tactical mind, I think he's definitely the type who's always eager to jump in, always eager to harry the ball back into possession. Is he the best guy to spread the ball forward? Sometimes he's proven that he can do that. What you cannot expect from Jordan Henderson is to be the Lallana or Thiago type player. That's why we have the Lallana and Thiago type player who should play alongside Henderson to help him to handle the ball movement and all. But when Henderson presses people, it creates urgency, and then they make mistakes. Then when they make mistakes, that's what makes our counter press so good. From there, you take the ball and you spread it to the front line. You make a long pass or something like that. So all of these things are important things that some people don't realize when Liverpool play. And I think Jordan Henderson, currently the lack of Jordan Henderson is currently, for me, showing some of our defensive frailties. And in this Villa game, I think this one compounded, because who did they play in that midfield instead of Jordan? Because Jordan was not fit.
So as you can see, is Keita, who was very exposed with the midfields of Aston Villa, and then there's Gini Wijnaldum and Fabinho. So that's the three in the midfield. So Jordan Henderson is also on the bench, but he did not play. So also available on the bench was Curtis Jones,
Jordan Henderson. I think Divock Origi was on the bench as well. A whole bunch of players were on the bench, but I think and Takumi Minamino was another one.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, there was a stat that stood out to me that really talked about how this team functioned. Think about this for a minute, okay? And it's definitely something that was interesting for me. Aston Villa, in total, had about 490 touches of the ball in the game. 490 touches. Liverpool had 854 touches.
It's more than double, bro.
That literally, I think, is double. Like,
double.
That's... And think about this as well, right? Passes completed. Aston Villa had about 285 passes completed. How many passes completed did Liverpool have?
650 passes.
650 passes.
Not only that, just look at the possession. So possession, 30.2 is for Aston Villa. Guess how many Liverpool has?
Near 70%.
Near 70%, 69.8. And Liverpool were the one losing 7-2. That is not really... On paper, if we just look at the possession, we don't look at the score, we would expect Liverpool to win the game. And then they lost 7-2.
For me, the most telling thing is, what this tells me is it's possession without purpose. I think you just have possession without purpose, and you're just hitting the ball. And this is why you need players like Henderson.
I think like Henderson would have known what to do when he has the ball. I think in the game itself, when Gini and Keita has the ball, I think they have to overthink. They don't know what to do, and they just have to pass it to Trent and all that. But then Trent, had a bad game. So I think that's why Henderson needs to be there, or someone like Thiago. But Thiago is obviously out with COVID.
That's what I'm just saying. The stats bewilder me, and the fact that the tackle stats not the most insane thing, because pretty much both teams had similar tackle numbers, tackles connected. Shots on target, 11 from Aston Villa, 8 from Liverpool. These are shots on target. Villa had 18 shots on the day, 14 shots. But what was very telling to me was one was this touch and pass stats, and then another was the clearance stat, which about Villa had 31 clearances, completely double that of Liverpool. What does that? I mean, for me, that means that one, they defensively set up to know not to keep the ball in play when Liverpool were in the danger areas, right? So to minimize their mistakes, they didn't bother trying to take possession from Liverpool, because they know that if you take possession, there's no point. That Liverpool, the team that would like to feed off the opponent's possession, right? 3, it also told me that they were patient and they waited for their opportunities, because when they saw the hole, they all lined up. Ross Barkley had a field day with Keita, and I think the physical mismatch there meant all those passes and all those touches didn't do jack shit going forward. That's all. That's what it means to me. Because if we didn't connect the passes and we didn't protect the right back, this is where I think Jordan Henderson is so important for this team in that area, because he's the kind of guy who can connect defense to offense. And everyone says last season, everyone said our midfield was not the most impressive midfield, right? But if you ask me, those three, Jordan Henderson, Wijnaldum and Fabinho, started last season because they all balanced each other out and because they were the dogs for Jurgen Klopp. They'd go and hunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'd hunt. They'd seek. They'd find the ball. They would make sure the ball moves forward. Were they always effective? No. There were times where we were screaming for creativity.
Yeah, there were times where our striker had to do a lot of job to get us out of the trouble.
That's why I think now that Thiago is here, I think once Thiago comes in for Wijnaldum, and then you got Henderson, and then you got Fabinho, you've got probably a balanced midfield going back and forth.
I think also like with Thiago, if he's there, if he's fit, I think Thiago can make Naby Keita shine. Because Naby Keita actually is meant to be a box-to-box midfielder, which we haven't really seen 100% yet as of now. I mean, he had a very good game against Chelsea and top games.
I just think also, I think mainly Naby Keita is good. I just think sometimes he's great for situational games, you know. I think Thiago and him would be a good midfield because you will never get the ball. I mean, because Thiago's so good at controlling possession, right? So, you know, I think almost it might be impossible for people to get the ball off him. So that would be a great dynamic, but I still need to see it, and I still need to see it in games like the Villa game or games like down the road. Man, I don't even want to talk about the Everton game. That's like daunting, that game.
Yeah, after the international break. Maybe Mane and Thiago might be back in that game.
I did hear a rumor that they might be back. I hope they're back because we really need. I've now seen enough to know that we really need that. You know, if the team's spine isn't going to be stable, I feel we really need that. And I think if Hendo's not here, right? Okay, here's my other option. If Hendo's not here, I would say play a back three. Play Fabinho, play Van Dijk, and play Gomez all in the back three. Have them all cover one another. Play Trent further up the pitch so that there's some level of cover, you know. I think Bayern Munich have played this style, and it's really helped their fullbacks kind of grow. I think that Alphonso Davies, when they played against PSG and all this stuff, and some teams that they played against, they sometimes play back three. So I think that's really helped them. But I just think what a terrible result that was, and it has to be a wake up call, because if it isn't a wake up call, I don't know what else to say about it, really. I don't know, now people will say, is the title race over?
So the title race over for me right now? I don't think so, because obviously other teams has lost as well, like Chelsea, Arsenal. Now the teams with the top 100% record is Everton. So people are saying Everton is having a very good run and they might be a title contender. So how do you think about Everton here? But for me, the answer for Liverpool is no. They're still in the game.
I think
the next match against Everton is a make or a break. Yeah.
I think it's said to you can never say anything 5 games into the season.
Yeah,
that's one thing. But the threshold for defeats is so low because you can't afford it. You can't afford to lose 5 games, because sometimes you'll have this Leicester or this Everton team that goes on a 6-game winning streak, and after that, once they go on this winning streak, it's like they cannot be stopped. But I think that's why this Liverpool Everton game is so important. You've got to win this game. You just have to. They've got bragging rights. They've got Ancelotti right now. They've got one of the best midfields in the league.
Yeah,
James Rodriguez, Alan, Decore. How that team has worked, and then they've got one of the most on-form strikers right now, and you've seen it before. Leicester built their season where they won this title off of Jamie Vardy and the work of N'Golo Kante in the midfield, and Mahrez as well. Yes, this is all the hallmarks of a potential of that happening. So you gotta defeat them straight up, end the Everton run, and then we have a wide open title race.
Let's not take the loss to Aston Villa take away the fact that Liverpool beat 2 title contenders in Arsenal and Chelsea. Okay, Arsenal maybe not, but top 4 contenders.
I would argue Arsenal right now have a pretty good case to sneak in there.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea are taking a bit longer to gel than they think. But yeah, it's
But they were title contenders at the start of the season. So
true.
I mean, Liverpool has already beaten 2 top teams. So let's just hope that it's just a one-off bad form. So and the Everton game is going to be a make or break for me.
I definitely think so as well. You know, and sometimes people would think, I just wanted to just say, I just want to say, guys, chill out. Okay, I said this on my video, but for Liverpool fans out there, chill. It's okay. A loss is a loss. You never want to lose 7-2. That's bloody embarrassing. But if fate and all history and all this stuff has shown anything, it's that this has not happened just this once. There was a time in the 90s when United lost, the strong United team that had Eric Cantona and Sir Alex Ferguson, right? They lost 6-3 to Southampton. So take into consideration, take the fact that Leicester beat Man City last week 5-2 into consideration, and the next thing we will talk about in the next topic is actually maybe, I don't know, giving you some solace. But the point is, at this point in time, the most important thing is to not bash Trent. I feel like people would take this as me bashing Trent. I'm not. Trent, we won the title because Trent had a damn good assist record from a right back position. You cannot expect Trent to you cannot just suddenly tell Trent, look man, you're out, because you need Trent for this team to function.
Yeah, all his assists. Not only that, he's a very good set piece taker and scorer as well.
Exactly.
Free kick, yeah.
His goals from set pieces alone, something to be impressed of.
Not only that, I mean, he has consistently been voted one of the best fullbacks currently right now. So I think maybe it's just like you said, a system thing, and also maybe he's just very young right now. He just needs more game time to mature. He's only 22. He's already achieved a lot for 22. So over time,
honestly, right now, I just don't understand. But I get it. Because now I use the same concept for Trent, right? And now I move to my final thing about all this, which is Adrian. Guys, Adrian's a backup goalkeeper. I don't want to stress that when you have a backup goalkeeper, they're never gonna be as good as a starting keeper. Do you think that signing a keeper is gonna solve this issue?
I mean, if you ask me, the main issue is not the goalkeeping. It has to be like if you said it's the central midfield defender and Trent as well. So even if you buy the best goalkeeper, maybe you will still lose the game, but maybe just lose it by 2-0.
Just so we're all clear, last season we had Adrian come in when Alisson went down. Yeah. We won games. We won a lot of games with Adrian in goal. The defense was rock solid. Exactly. We had, well, not a lot of clean sheets, but some clean sheets.
Still clean sheets. I mean, could have been much worse.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. But I'm just saying,
we won the Super Cup with him.
We won the Super Cup with Adrian. I've seen this wave of like nonsense since Adrian's little performance thing. Guys, yeah, he had a bad game. Don't all jump on him and say things about him. When I watched that game, I saw maybe 1 or 2 of those goals are his fault. The rest is all defending, deflections, and just downright positional issues. There's nothing you can do about that. So why on earth suddenly now are we gonna go, hey, you know what, Adrian shit, let's buy another keeper. Okay, who you wanna buy? I don't know, let's buy Jack Butland.
Apparently we have Liverpool is in talks with Gazzaniga from Spurs, yeah.
Again,
who is also a backup
I've spoken
keeper,
to a friend who watches Spurs religiously, and he has told me Gazzaniga is nothing special, really. And I'm going to tell you now, this is the same story I've heard from Kepa. This is the same story I've heard from other keepers before this. When I've heard the same story as Karius in my mind. When a keeper makes mistakes and their confidence are shot, I don't care who you put there. they're always gonna make mistakes. That's normal. For goalkeepers, confidence is the most important trait you need. Because when your confidence is shot as a goalkeeper, you're practically living in fear. You know? So now is not the time to bash Adrian. I will say one thing. If it is a matter that Adrian's confidence is shot right now, I would take him on and put Kelleher in there. I would put Cameron Kelleher until we stabilize Adrian or until Alisson comes back. Because Alisson's going to miss 6 weeks of football, guys. That's a lot of games. So either you get behind Adrian or, put Kelleher in, but don't all bash him and, say that everything is his fault. This team works as a system. The goalkeeper needs a defense. You put any keeper and you give them that amount of shots to deal with, they're going to F up. It's just normal.
Yeah, that's true. So I think for me it's just we have to put Adrian for the next game, but we have to have someone like Henderson. If we can have Henderson and Thiago, I think should be no issues right there. We're not going to be losing 7-2 lah.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Like, what's your expectations moving forward for Liverpool?
Well, for me, I think Liverpool are still in it. Obviously, they still, if possible, they should buy another defender. But obviously, the transfer is already closed. So with what they have right now, they have to really make Fabinho a utility man and pivot him between defense and maybe defensive midfield.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the toughest seasons that Jurgen's ever had because he's going to be dealing with a lot. There's still no crowds. Look, there's a lot of talk about crowds and all that, but we'll talk about that some other time. But I think he's got to come up. Jurgen Klopp's got to come up. I think Jurgen is still a fantastic manager, and I don't doubt Jurgen Klopp at all. My faith is definitely with Jurgen, 100%. So I think he's going to need to just come up with that.
I think he has what it takes to just adapt from this. He managed to adapt with a very average squad before this, and he managed to always get a plan. So I think with what we have right now, I think there'll be no issue.
Well, thanks guys, that's it for this topic. Moving on to the next topic now. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, and we will see you in a bit.